You know, the only belt that I've worn since 2015 is Core Essentials, and since then I've introduced them to a lot of y'all here on Hagshot Nation. Friends, family, coworkers, pretty much everybody I know at this point wears a Core Essentials, and for good reason, because they have a lot of unique features that make wearing a belt very comfortable, but also putting weight on it and your carry gun very comfortable as well. Well, today I'm going to show you their latest innovation. This is their duty belt for police officers. It's actually a 2-belt setup, and I'm going to show you some of the features that somehow they were able to incorporate into this belt, but I'm also going to compare it to another popular competitor in the police officer duty belt space here. So this will give you a good idea. If you're, active police officer and you're looking for a new belt, these things aren't cheap. None of them really are. So this way you'll understand exactly what the differences are between something like the Core Essentials duty belt and one of the popular competitors, and make an informed decision for yourself. Now, if you've used either one of these 2 belts, or if you've used another type of duty belt and you really like that, or you don't like them so much, whatever, leave your opinion down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. Let's go and get into it. Now, this is a 2-belt setup like I mentioned, but the inner and outer belt both have something in common, and that is the power core. This is the same type of material that you see in the everyday carry belts, and essentially it's kind of flexible, right? But it does not bend under the weight of a gun. And so this is going to be really important when we're talking about 25 to 30 pounds that you could be carrying as a police officer every day. But this doesn't look like much, right? But that power core on the inside of it is super, super strong. So that is one thing you don't see necessarily on the outside looking in, but when you cut these things, you will see that power core. And like I said, it's a really interesting material because it's flexible and yet it does not bend under the pressure or buckle under the pressure there. Now, the other thing that this has is this piece right here. This again is something very flexible but super strong, right? And this is going to be very important to the way this adjusts because it's unlike any other belt out there. These belts will fit anywhere from a 24 to a 48-inch waist. You're going to cut it to fit your exact size, but it's still going to be adjustable. So it's kind of interesting. You have Armor Tech technology. This is something that Core Essentials has come up with, a proprietary material that they've used to make this belt as strong as it possibly can be. Stronger than any leather, and it's going to outlast any leather out there. That is their claim, right? So Armor Tech technology. Now, the first thing that you want to do, but essentially you lay this belt out, you put their tape measure over the top of it. If you're a 36, you cut a 36. You're then going to slide the cut into the buckle. Going to talk about that here in a minute. And then this actually has a clamp and 4 retention screws. Now, back in the day when they first started, they actually just had the clamp. And I never had an issue with that thing coming out. Maybe towards the end of its life, but I wore that thing for I don't even know how many years. And then they started introducing retention screws on top of that. So let's just say this thing will never come out. I mean, if you do it the right way, it's not coming off. So it's pretty incredible. So once you cut that, then you're going to go to your inner core. And the inner core, you're going to cut it 1 inch shorter than what you cut your outer belt. Now, if it seems too long or whatever the case may be, you can take the belt off, cut it down 1 inch at a time, and then of course you're going to cut the inner core off 1 inch shorter than what you have the outer belt. So you've done all of your cutting and now you're ready to try it out. So here's where the magic happens. Once you put this first layer on, right, this is going to go through your belt loops, right, just like normal. You're going to put that on, and essentially you want this flexible area to be right in the front. That's going to allow this thing to actually move back and forth and allow you to adjust the belt, right? That's part of your adjustment there. So then, from right to left, you start with your buckle side. You kind of put it somewhere about right where that Velcro starts. So it's going to be somewhere about right there, let's just say, roughly. And once you put that on, you're going to have something like that. Now, the cool part is you can adjust this. Now, if you find that you want it a little bit tighter, You can cut off an inch at a time. They do recommend that you put everything on the belt first, just to make sure that you're not cutting off too much. But this gives you the flexibility to not only tighten it in 1/4 inch increments, but also to loosen it. But here's the other part, because this is a duty belt and you guys run into the worst of the worst in society, unfortunately. It has the dual release system. So you have the traditional buckle like you would on an everyday carry belt, but then you also have an additional spring up at the top. This spring, by the way, is super solid. It's easy to get on and off, but it's solid enough where it locks into that track and you cannot pull this off of somebody's waistline unless you knew exactly how this thing works, and that requires you getting both of those levers up. Now, once you pull them both up, super easy to just pull it right off. But once you got it tightened down and cinched down, there is no coming off unless you want it to come off. But again, it's very simple, very smooth. It's just a part of their kind of ingenious system. And in this 20 track positions, I think I said 20-inch track, it's not 20 inches a track, but 20 different 1/4 inch positions makes all of the difference. Now, I'm really glad that they sent another brand so I can kind of look at how do the other guys do their belts, because this is gonna obviously give you up to 30 pounds that you can put on here. The Armor Tech, the dual release system, right? So it seems perfectly set up, and of course you have the adjustability. So I was like, all right, well, let's see how the competition does their belts. Well, this is the Bianchi, this is the AccuMold Elite belt. This is the 7950 outer, and then the 7205 inner. So essentially what we have is the same type of inner hook and loop design. They use a little bit different materials. It's not the super weave interior like what you find on the Core Essentials, but overall the quality doesn't seem bad. Now what I'm looking for too are imperfections in the belt, because I know how good these things are. I know how long they last. So I'm looking for stuff like this. And I find that some of the areas, you know, you kind of have these underfolded or overfolded areas and stuff. How much of a difference is that going to make when you're, you know, on duty? Maybe not that much, but it is something that I wanted to point out. But it's the same type of hook and loop system. So when you order these belts, you're going to order different sizes. So you might have, you know, I don't know, 34 to 40. You might have 40 to 44. I think they will accommodate up to a 48 inch. I think they go down to like a 28 inch. So a little bit of difference there, but essentially the same type of design. So the materials on this, you have a 4-part laminate construction, right? And then you also have the Duraskin outer material and the cop block, which works similar to our dual release system, which essentially, once you tighten this up, you have an additional lock right there. So if you try to press in the sides, it's not going to release until you press in the middle right there. So again, it gives an extra layer of protection so this belt can't be stripped off by would-be perpetrators, essentially. Now, it's shatterproof. It is polymer, right? Polymers are pretty strong. But as far as the buckle design itself, you can tell that this one looks cheaper compared to what you find on the Core Essentials. I think there's 2 designs on the Core Essentials. They have the D1 and D2 for their duty belts for police officers. Now, the way you size this one is a little bit simpler, right? So essentially, you start off with this piece right here. You can adjust both sides, and you're gonna slide this down, and then put the, you can hear how it's starting to pull up, but you have the belt keeper right there. So you can give yourself a little bit more room, a little bit less room. Now I'm a 36 in the waist. I was able to put that on, no problem. This one right here though, this says it will work for a 34 to 40 inch waist. Now I'm a 36 and I basically had to move this. You can see how far I moved this side right there, right? Not that much to go. Fortunately, you got these belt keepers, but if you're a 40 inch waist or even a 38, you may have a little bit of trouble trying to stretch this all the way around to be able to get this on. But you're not going to have any adjustability. Once you get it to where it's at, that's pretty much it, right? It's a standard buckle. Now it is a relatively light belt. I think it's a little bit lighter actually than the Core Essentials, but neither one of them are like exceptionally heavy, right? Once you put your gear on there, that's when they would become obviously a little bit heavier. Now, one thing I did notice as I took this off, again, you have some areas where they have folded this on the underside of this, where it doesn't look great, right? It's just not the same level of quality, right? But you also don't have the same level of adjustability. It's a little bit cheaper and it feels cheaper all the way around. And it's apparent to me that the materials from the 4-part laminate compared to the ArmorTech, to the buckle, and the locking system even though it's shatterproof, all of it is obviously cheaper. Now I know these guys are pretty well respected in the duty belt industry for police officers, and of course they also have an entire lineup of different accessories that will work with the AccuMold as well. So I know they're respected, and I assume that people have pretty good luck with them, but if you want something that is more adjustable and more robust, especially giving you that adjustability with the track system, the Core Essentials, in my experience, has been the best way to go. And that, now the other part about these belts that makes them fantastic is the fact that we have a discount code. So you can save 10% on these belts. So yeah, they're gonna be a little bit more than what you'll find with the AccuMold, but you can save a good amount of money by using the discount code and the link in the description of this video. But if you are unable to afford one of these either one of these at this moment, but you need a new belt, I'm going to be giving these away over on Headshot Nation because I don't need them just sitting around here. I'm not a police officer and I want them to go to somebody that can actually use them. So if you sign up to Headshot Nation over there, the details will be there. So I'll be giving away both of these belts over on Headshot Nation. So hopefully a police officer or whoever can use these and make our streets a little bit safer. So if you've used the Core Essentials or the AccuMold Elite or any of the Bianchi products or any others, let me know what you think about them down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.